It was supposed to be just another awards night in Los Angeles. Flashing cameras, red carpet poses, political jabs disguised as punchlines. The usual. Until Karoline Leavitt arrived. Wearing a sleek, dark green gown and her signature silver cross, the White House press secretary walked with quiet command. But she wasn't alone. Beside her was her husband, Daniel Whitmore, a former Marine. He wasn't a celebrity, but his presence was unmistakable, stoic, steady, the kind of man who didn't need the spotlight to be seen. Whispers rippled down the press line. Is that her security detail? No, husband, I think. Ex-military. Inside the ballroom, the buzz followed them to their table. Then the lights dimmed, and the host took the stage. Tom Cruise. Suave, grinning, sharp-tongued. A master of charm laced with bite. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, arms wide, tonight we've got it all. Senators, stars, and even a few folks who still think the earth is flat. Laughter. And look who's here, Karoline Leavitt, America's favorite fire starter, and she brought along a husband who looks like he walked straight off a Marine recruitment poster. The crowd chuckled. Karoline's expression didn't flicker. Daniel's jaw tightened. Tom grinned wider. Honestly, I thought he was her bodyguard. Then I spotted the wedding ring. She married him? What? Was Jason Bourne busy? Louder laughter this time, but not from their table. Karoline's smile remained still, but it was the stillness of ice. Daniel leaned in. You okay? She nodded once, calm, controlled. I'm fine, she said, but he's not. She stood, quietly, deliberately. Napkin folded beside her untouched plate. Daniel followed. They exited toward the backstage area. Tom Cruise kept the show rolling, unaware that he'd just crossed a line. Minutes later, just as he finished another punchline about politics, the lights dimmed again. Not part of the program. A new spotlight snapped on. Stage left. From the shadows emerged Karoline Leavitt. She wasn't on the schedule, she hadn't been introduced, but she walked into that light like she owned it. Even Tom looked momentarily stunned. Karoline? What are you doing? She took the second mic, didn't look at him, eyes on the room. Since Tom decided to bring me into the show, she said, voice steady, I figured I'd say a few words. Nervous. Laughter. You know, she continued, it's easy to stand up here and take shots at people who don't live in your world. But Tom didn't just mock me tonight. He mocked my husband. A man who served 10 years in the Marine Corps. A man who's faced real danger, not staged fight scenes and green screens. The room quieted, glasses lowered, faces turned. I walked into this ballroom knowing I wasn't your typical guest, Karoline said. I'm not from Hollywood. I come from a world of service, of duty, of people who understand that respect isn't something you laugh off. She turned briefly to Tom. His grin was gone. And the joke, she added. Jason Bourne? That's cute. But let me tell you something. Jason Bourne wouldn't last 10 seconds against that man. She nodded toward Daniel, standing just off stage. The crowd erupted. Cheers, applause, whistles from the veterans in the back row. A few even stood. Karoline didn't flinch. She let the moment settle. Then, with a quiet confidence, she handed the mic to the stagehand and walked off, head high, mission complete. He let the applause rise, then dropped the final line. Tom, I don't need to be a movie star to command a stage. I just need to tell the truth. With that, she turned, walked off, and left the spotlight flickering behind her. Backstage, Daniel was waiting by the curtain. That was something, he said quietly. Karoline gave a small smile. Finally, she said. That was just the beginning. Meanwhile, out front, Tom Cruise was pacing like a lion in a shrinking cage. Producers whispered through his earpiece, Let it go, Tom. Just stick to the script. But Tom wasn't built for backing down, not after that. Karoline's impromptu mic drop had hit like a clean right hook. And now the cameras were rolling, live streams were clipping, and Twitter, now X, was a wildfire. That quote, "I don't need to be a movie star," it was everywhere. But Tom didn't care about optics, he cared about winning. He straightened his cuffs, forced on a grin, and walked back out. "Well," he said, pacing center stage, "I guess I just got a lecture from the First Lady of Fox News. A few scattered laughs, mostly silence. But hey, let's be real." He pushed. "If I had $1 for every time a conservative told me they were offended, I'd be richer than I already am." A couple half-hearted claps. Most just stared. But Tom kept going. "Look, I respect the troops. I really do. But let's not confuse being married to a Marine with knowing everything about leadership. There's a difference between experience and ego." Oof. The air shifted. Even his own table stiffened. Not because it was brave, because it was stupid. Backstage, Daniel hadn't moved. Hadn't said a word. Until now. "You good with me walking in there?" he asked. Karoline didn't reply. She just stepped aside. Seconds later, the double doors creaked open. Not her this time. Him. Daniel. Whitmore. 6'2", squared shoulders, suit perfectly pressed, calm fury in every step. He walked straight down the center aisle. No rush, no apology, just presence. The room turned, one breath at a time. Tom looked up, unsure whether to crack another joke or brace for impact. "Can I say something?" Daniel asked, voice low but clear. The mic tech, stunned, handed him a live one. Daniel turned to the audience, then faced Tom head-on. "You can joke all you want," he said, "but the moment you questioned her leadership, you made it personal." A pause. She earned her voice. "You just act like you deserve yours." Boom. One sentence, one reaction. The front row gasped. Tom Cruise didn't move. Daniel handed the mic back like it was nothing, then turned and walked out the way he came. No encore, no grandstanding, just silence in his wake. By the time the awards show cut to commercial, X was already lit. Hashtags exploded. Saw Daniel did that Marine mic drop. Sit down Tom clips of Daniel's steady walk, the line, "She earned her voice. You just act like you deserve yours." Were everywhere. Slowed down, remixed, captioned in bold white font over black backgrounds. A former Marine hadn't spoken in anger, he'd spoken in truth, and people listened. Fox News aired a segment within the hour. Karoline Leavitt's husband shocks Hollywood with silent strength. But it wasn't just the conservative media. CNN, MSNBC, even Variety picked it up. Because in a town full of noise, spin, and applause lines, Daniel Whitmore said one thing, and it shook the walls. CNN's Kyron read the headline live on air. "Veteran confronts Tom Cruise. You just act like you deserve it." Even late-night hosts like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, normally allies of Cruise, paused. No punchlines, no monologues. Because it didn't look like comedy anymore. It looked like a man punching down and a couple standing up. The next morning, Karoline's inbox was on fire. Supporters, veterans groups, college students, journalists. Some had never written her before, but they all said the same thing. You didn't need to yell. You didn't need to fight dirty. You brought a man of honor into a room full of ego, and the truth did the rest. Daniel? He hadn't checked his phone once. He was in the kitchen, brewing coffee like it was just another Tuesday. Karoline, still in her robe, leaned against the doorway. "You know you kind of blew up the internet last night." Daniel looked up, smirked. "I didn't do anything but say the truth." She raised an eyebrow. "Exactly. That's why it worked." Back in Los Angeles, Tom Cruise sat alone in his home office, watching it all unravel. Every clip, every reaction, every slowed-down replay of Daniel's words. His name wasn't trending for a film. It was trending for being put in his place. "That man is dangerous," Tom muttered. He wasn't talking about Daniel's military record. He was talking about influence. Tom's crisis team scrambled. Interns were combing through social media, flagging viral posts. Publicists were already on the phone with Vanity Fair and GQ, pitching exclusives. "We could frame it as humor gone wrong," one aide suggested. "Or say it was a misunderstanding," another offered. Tom stared at them all, jaw tight. "No, we don't apologize." The room fell silent, but deep down, Tom knew. He was losing something more valuable than screen time. He was losing control. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Karoline stood behind the White House press podium. She didn't mention the awards show. She didn't name Tom Cruise. But the press did. A CNN reporter raised her hand. "Ms. Leavitt, any comment on last night's viral moment?" Karoline smiled, cool, composed. "I think what my husband said spoke louder than anything I could have added. He wasn't defending me. He was defending respect." Boom. That line alone hit 1 million views by noon. Then came the calls. Fox News, CBS Morning, The Today Show. Everyone wanted the couple together. America had seen political couples before, but not like this. This wasn't about power. This was about principle. Backstage at Fox News, Karoline turned to Daniel. "You sure about this?" He shrugged. "Not a fan of the spotlight, but if it shuts down guys like Cruise, count me in." That night, the interview aired. Millions watched. And when Daniel said, it wasn't about defending her honor, it was about reminding people that not everyone with a mic deserves to use it, the internet exploded again. Hashtags soared. Respect speaks. Power couple energy on Daniel and Karoline. People didn't just admire them, they believed in them. A fusion of strength and grace, of calm and conviction, of truth and fire. Across the country, in a quiet hotel suite, Tom Cruise sat alone, eyes on the screen, expression like stone. He picked up his phone, paused, and for the first time in years, he had no line. Tom Cruise picked up his phone, stared at the screen, then finally, without saying a word, he called his lawyer. The manila envelope arrived by private courier the next afternoon. No label, no logo, just wait. Karoline Leavitt sat at her White House press office desk. Daniel, coffee in hand, leaned against the wall beside her. She broke the seal. Inside, a thick legal document. At the top, in bold, notice of defamation concern. Thomas Cruise Map 4 official, aggressive, arrogant. Daniel read over her shoulder. The comments made by Ms. Leavitt and Mr. Whitmore have caused reputational damage. Failure to issue a public apology may result in legal action. Karoline let out a slow breath. Then she smiled, not with fear, but with precision. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "He's really going there?" "Yeah," she said quietly, eyes narrowing. He picked the wrong opponent. That night, she didn't tweet, didn't go on cable news, didn't grandstand. Instead, she opened a drawer. Inside, a flash drive, labeled in faint black ink, Gibson 19, encrypted. Forgotten by most, but not by her. She plugged it in. Typed a 10-digit password. Daniel watched from across the room. "You're opening that?" Karoline nodded. "If Tom wants a public war, I'll give him a public record." Inside the folder, emails, screenshots, a full timeline. 2019, Los Angeles, a military charity gala. Tom Cruise had promised sponsorship, big checks, big press, then pulled out last minute. No notice, no apology. Dozens of veterans had been humiliated, Daniel among them. Karoline, then a junior congressional aide, had been there and quietly documented everything. At the time, it wasn't her fight. Now, "This isn't revenge," she whispered. "This is pattern." By morning, her team had drafted a calm but blistering statement. "We have received Mr. Cruise's legal threat. As someone who documents truth for a living, I am not intimidated by celebrity lawsuits, but I am very interested in releasing the full record regarding Mr. Cruise's behavior toward military communities. If he would like a public discussion, I'm happy to schedule one, in court or on camera." The internet detonated. Conservatives cheered. Moderates leaned in. Even liberal-leaning veterans began sharing first-hand accounts. I was there in 19. Karoline's not lying. He bailed hours before the event, left us hanging. We were humiliated. Meanwhile, in LA, Tom Cruise was locked in a private crisis room, phone in one hand, PR manager in the other. What the hell does she have? He barked. Silence. No one had the answer, because no one knew how far Karoline Leavitt was willing to go. That night, the Fox News set was darker than usual. Spotlights trained on a single chair at the center of the studio, a silver microphone, a single sheet of glassy paper, and beside it, the flash drive marked Gibson 19. Tucker Green leaned into the camera. Tonight, we welcome White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, not for commentary, but to respond to a lawsuit threat from actor Tom Cruise. Cut to Karoline. No smile, no bravado, just clarity and fire. This week, I was threatened, not by a foreign adversary, not by a political rival, but by a man who mocked my husband's service, and when called out, decided to sue instead of reflect. She held up the flash drive, steady between two fingers. This contains a record, emails, receipts, history. I was ready to let it stay buried, but Mr. Cruise wants a public battle, so I'll bring the truth to the public. She placed the drive gently back down. I don't need to smear anyone. All I have to do is press play. The studio went silent, and America held its breath. Service, and then couldn't handle the public response. Karoline's voice echoed through the studio. That man was Tom Cruise. The room froze. Not even Tucker Green moved. But I've learned something working in Washington, she continued. People who hide behind power rarely expect to be confronted with truth. She slid the flash drive forward. Deliberate, controlled, nuclear. This file contains email chains, memos, and direct communications from 2019, documenting Mr. Cruise's sudden withdrawal from a veterans charity event, an event he publicly promised to support. His cancellation left over 100 service members and families without the funding or appearance he pledged. This was not a scheduling conflict. It was a choice, one he never explained, and never apologized for. Tucker blinked. Even he hadn't known how deep this would go. Then Karoline turned, square to camera. Now millions were watching. You sued me, Mr. Cruise, claiming I damaged your reputation. But what I have here isn't hearsay, it's your own words. She tapped the flash drive gently. So if we're going to court, I'll be bringing this. But if you'd rather avoid that, I'm open to a public apology. Not to me, to the veterans you ghosted. Online, it was like a second thunderclap. Hashtags tore across the digital landscape. Our Karoline strikes back, Archer Gibson file, honor over Hollywood. On Reddit, veterans began posting photos from the 2019 event, half-empty rows. Kids holding signs, fathers and mothers in uniform, waiting. One comment went viral. My dad waited all day. They said Cruise would show. He never did. CNN broke into coverage, so did NBC. Even Entertainment Weekly ran with Leavitt drops. Bombshell on Cruise, the flash drive that could end a legacy. And Tom Cruise? Silent. No tweet, no statement. His lawyer declined interviews. His publicist issued no comment. At home, Daniel sat on the couch watching the rebroadcast on his laptop. He leaned toward Karoline. He's not going to say a word, is he? She didn't even look up. He already did, she said, on paper. But the aftershocks weren't just political. Hollywood began to crack. The Gibson 19 file was real. Studio emails from 2019 began leaking, internal memos confirming what Karoline said. Cruise dropping out isn't about time. Too rural, too red, not great optics. It wasn't a conflict, it was a calculation. Suddenly, the story wasn't about gossip, it was about values. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Keanu Reeves, quiet, respected, a man who rarely spoke, publicly spoke now. He posted a single statement on X. "I was invited to that 2019 veterans event. I showed up. Tom didn't. I saw the disappointment on those faces. Karoline Leavitt spoke the truth. Veterans deserve better than being forgotten for optics." Boom! 5 million views in hours. Hollywood gasped. Keanu had broken the code. An A-lister calling out another A-lister on behalf of a political figure. Within hours, the ripple widened. An anonymous B-list actor told Variety, "We've all seen Cruise skip things when there's no benefit to him. Karoline just had the receipts." It wasn't just a PR nightmare anymore. It was a reckoning. And Tom Cruise had finally met something he couldn't charm, sue, or spin: truth, with a witness and a flash drive. A prominent producer tweeted, "The arrogance, mocking a Marine's family, then trying to sue them." Karoline had every right to clap back. A liberal Substack columnist added, "You don't have to like her politics to see what's right." Tom lost the moment he made it personal. But Karoline? She stayed silent. No gloating, no retweets, no grandstanding. When asked by reporters if she'd seen Keanu's statement, she simply replied, "That took courage. I respect it deeply." Tom Cruise's team, meanwhile, was spiraling. "We need a counter-narrative," his publicist urged. "No," Tom growled. "We need this to die." But it was already too late. Even late-night hosts who once kissed his ring were now nervously laughing. Tom Cruise challenged a Marine's wife and got knocked out by a flash drive. Daniel, watching from the kitchen, smiled faintly. "Did you ever think Keanu Reeves would back you up?" Karoline smirked. "I was hoping for Clint Eastwood, but I'll take it." Then quietly, the counter-strike began. An anonymous article popped up on a minor gossip blog. Is Karoline Leavitt really the patriot she claims to be? It was vague. Hazy accusations of mistreating staff, whispers of White House turmoil, claims she used her husband's service to burnish her image. By noon, 4 more sites had picked it up. By evening, the hashtag was trending. Leavitt lies. But this time, people didn't buy it. Karoline wasn't shocked. She knew how the machine worked. When they couldn't beat you in the spotlight, they came at you in the shadows. Daniel handed her the phone. "You want to respond?" She shook her head. "Not yet. I want him to think it's working." What Tom didn't know was that Karoline had been ready for this. Weeks ago, she'd seen the patterns, the smear campaigns, the quiet sabotage, the anonymous leaks. So she built a firewall. She gathered employee satisfaction surveys, exit interviews, video clips from years of quiet service. Veterans she'd helped, never once publicized. Until now. She called the file Truth Over Spin. And with one calm post on X, she dropped it. "Some fight in the open, others in the dark. I fight with receipts. Here's mine." Attached was a 2-minute video. Veterans embracing her, staffers praising her leadership. A retired general stating, "Karoline Leavitt shows more honor in her pinky than most in their entire careers." Within 6 hours, it had 10 million views. The hashtag flipped. Leavitt Leads was now trending. Keanu Reeves reposted it with just 3 words: "This is integrity." Inside Tom Cruise's inner circle, panic set in. His lawyer stepped in, grim-faced. "She's not just winning, Tom, she's ending this. Building a legal fortress. We can't keep going with the lawsuit," one of Tom's lawyers muttered. His PR rep added grimly, "She's not just fighting back, she's winning hearts. You've made her bigger." Tom Cruise stared at the screen, her video playing on a loop. Once, he was the star America looked to when it needed a hero. But now, America had a new one. And she didn't need a box office. Tom never issued a statement. No retraction, no apology, no press conference. Just silence. 2 days after Karoline Leavitt's video went viral, his legal team quietly withdrew the defamation threat. No headlines, no fanfare. It was over. But for Karoline, Winning in silence wasn't enough. She had one more thing to say. The Veterans Honor Summit, Virginia under the crisp fall sky, military families, retired generals, and volunteers gathered beneath one flag. Karoline stepped onto the podium in a navy blue blazer, a silver cross gleaming against her collarbone. The crowd hushed. Some expected a victory lap, a jab at Hollywood, a final blow. But Karoline gave them something else entirely. A few weeks ago, someone with power mocked the man I love. Not just his service, but the values that define him. And when we stood up, we weren't fighting for politics or applause. We were fighting for what too many are afraid to defend: honor, faith, respect. Thunderous applause broke out, but Karoline raised her hand for quiet. This was never about Tom Cruise. It was always about something bigger, about every family who's been ridiculed for what they believe. Every wife told she's too loud, too bold, too patriotic. About every veteran forgotten when the cameras stopped rolling. I didn't win because I had more followers. I won because I refused to sit down. The audience rose to their feet. Even reporters in the press section wiped away tears. Daniel stood near the stage, arms folded, watching the woman he married stand taller than ever. Then a letter was read, sent by Keanu Reeves himself. Courage isn't always bullets or battlefields. Sometimes it's telling the truth when the spotlight tries to blind you. That night, the headlines didn't mention Tom Cruise. They spoke of something far more powerful. Karoline Leavitt ends the fight with grace and grit. From lawsuit to leadership, how one press secretary outshined Hollywood. Not just Trump's voice, a voice for millions. Back home, Karoline opened a drawer and placed the now iconic flash drive inside. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. I didn't win this because I'm perfect, she told Daniel. I won because I stood when others sat. Then she added softly but with steel in her voice, people think fame protects you. But today, we proved something else. Truth speaks louder, even to Hollywood's loudest voices. Karoline Leavitt didn't just fight back. She rewrote the script. If this story shook you, imagine what's coming next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, so you never miss a moment when truth flips the narrative. This is Surprising Stories, where every voice matters and no spotlight is too bright for the truth. See you in the next one.